music team. I was out of town this past week, got the opportunity to visit another Unity ministry. And I want to tell you something. It's always, when I visit and go to other ministries, there's always an opportunity to make some comparisons. You know, that human part of us that likes to compare. I have yet to go to a ministry that has a better music team than Unity of Tampa. I shared that with John today, and he said, "Hey man, ease off on the pressure, will you? Keep it going, guys. Good job." All right, so today is the first Sunday of August, and August is the 8th month of the year, and so we take time to focus on the 8th power of the 12 powers. Thank you, Barry, for helping me remember the 12 powers. Barry's in our SEE class, and I think the assignment for today was 3 things, right? Know the 12 powers, know what they do, and know how to use them. So you can skip the class if you want to. Looks like, no. No, but it looks like you got it covered. So let's talk a little bit about this power of will. I have been blessed to be invited by so many of you to pray for you and to sit down and to listen to some of the life experiences that you're having and to help you in spiritual counseling. And I know how difficult it is for all of us to make decisions, to make commitments, and to execute, to apply divine truth to ourselves and to our life experiences. And I want to remind you that, you know, these 12 powers are very practical faculties that we have of God's grace within us. They're not just intellectual concepts that we think about or talk about from time to time. These are practical things, practical abilities that we have to help us live more full and abundant lives. We grow these faculties, we grow these powers by using them, by applying them, by being mindful of what they are, what they do, and how to use them. Charles Fillmore said, "The use of the will is very important in making demonstrations. One must be very persistent, since persistence is essential to demonstration. Truth builds the perfect body, and the will must resolutely lay hold and keep hold of the word of truth until the word becomes flesh." Charles Fillmore. What does that mean? What does that mean? You know, we talked about how the 12 powers work together. And you will notice that our power for the month is will, but the supporting power is understanding. And the reason why will and understanding work together is that God is calling us to make certain decisions in our lives, but those decisions need to be made from a place of understanding. Understanding, to remind you, is the ability to apprehend, to comprehend, and to know what is true and to know what is good. There's a clarity that comes with understanding. And this is why understanding and will work together. Because understanding prepares the way for our will, for our making decisions, for our making commitments, for our executing God's truth in us and God's good in our life. Because understanding gives us clarity. It gives us a knowing of what no longer serves us and what is now ready to serve us. And so understanding and will work together to help us bring forth what Charles Fulmer calls a demonstration. Now, what is a demonstration? I know you are Unity folks, so you all know what a demonstration is, right? Yes. A demonstration is how we take what is true and make it manifest in our lives. It's the gateway from the spiritual to the material, from the invisible to the visible, from the eternal to the temporal. The demonstration is that part of us, that function of our being that takes what is unseen and brings it into a demonstration of good in our material lives. And how do we make this demonstration? We make this demonstration by what we think and what we feel and what we say and what we do. And so the will is so important in this, because what the grace of God is asking us to is to make a decision, make a commitment, and then apply that decision and commitment to our lives. To stick with it. Because all the other 11 powers will waver to and fro, up and down, unless the commitment of the will anchors it in our highest good. Do you get that? And so the will is very important. The will is the executive function of the soul. Jesus had an experience in the Garden of Gethsemane. Before being arrested, taken before Pilate and tried, and then going on to the crucifixion of Friday, Good Friday, and the resurrection of Easter Sunday. And we know that this is a metaphysical story. This is a story telling us how we go from our human self into our Christ self. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, before Jesus was betrayed by Judas, he was in a time of prayer. And his prayer was very simply this: your will be done, not mine. Your will be done, not mine. And we have that same prayer within us. It is the prayer of the divine within each human soul, inviting us to align ourselves willingly with God's presence and power. Putting aside the confusion of the ego, putting aside the lack of clarity of the personality, and aligning ourselves willingly with God's presence and power. And in that alignment comes understanding and wisdom, and understanding and wisdom guides our decisions, guides our choices, guides our commitment. That should be our prayer every single day as we start the day. To know what is the will of God for us and our lives, and to make the decision and the commitment to align ourselves with that will willingly. Now, I don't know if you know this, and you should, and I hope I'm just reminding you of something that is true to you. But in Unity, we practice the prayer of denial and the prayer of affirmation. We believe in the spiritual process of releasing things that no longer serve us and receiving things that do. And we release things through the practice of denial. And we receive things through the practice of affirmation. The power of our word is our main spiritual tool. And so in the process of saying yes to what we will, we also have to consider saying no to what we won't. Do you get this? Right? as part of denial and as part of affirmation. Saying no to things that we will not any longer tolerate in ourselves, in our lives, in our thoughts, our feelings, in our words, in our actions, liberates us, sets us free to say yes to those things that we willingly want to bring into our life experience. And so the will is also part of denying what is not true and affirming that which is true. So often, like the children of Israel, we wander in the wilderness of confusion. We wander in the wilderness where there is no clarity, there's no faith, there's no seeing the end from the beginning. And often when we're in this place of wilderness, we think that we have been abandoned by the presence and power of God. And we have not. The wilderness experience is part of our clarity. The wilderness experience is part of our letting go of what no longer serves us. Just as the children of Israel went through those 40 years of wilderness wandering between Egypt and the promised land, so we sometimes have to go into the wilderness of letting go of the won'ts, setting free the things that bind us from our highest good, so that we can willingly align ourselves more fully with divine truth and divine good. Understanding and will. Two aspects of the faculty of God within us, working together to take us on this path to a more fuller experience of our Christ truth and our Christ good. Allowing us to live with clarity in the world, making decisions and commitments that are aligned with God's grace, and executing that grace in everything we do in our lives. Let your world today be enlightened. Let your world today have clarity. Let understanding and will come more fully into your life, giving you certainty and assurance that the things that you desire and the things that you aspire to are good for you, are aligned with divine truth. Open your mind today, open your heart to a fuller unfolding of God's grace. And let understanding and will lead you out of the wilderness of confusion and more fully into the promised land of what is true and what is good. Let's take this now into a time of meditation. Let's come together into the sacred space of oneness. As John leads us in a song, preparing our hearts and minds, let's take this desire into meditation and come more fully into will and understanding.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very